No, I got a jam.
Oh, the pallet's pinched.
Yeah, it moves.
Just go in there.
No, I mean...
Look, either you go in there right now, or I'll find someone who will.
Come on, man.
No. That's the deal, okay? In you go.
Elysium is a sci-fi action movie taking place in a fully fictional future world where the rich live a nice life away from overpopulation and don't let the rest of the world in. And after our everyday hero, Max, suffers an unfortunate accident at work in which he gets blasted with cancerous radiation, he has to find a way up to the rich people's place to not die, because the rich people have machines that can heal any health issues, including radiation poisoning. And if you didn't know, Elysium is possibly the most hyped up non-IP sci-fi movie in history, simply because it was made by the writer-director of District 9. District 9, which in terms of sci-fi films that came out of nowhere, was something really special. So much so that it made the writer-director one of the most buzzed about young filmmakers in modern Hollywood. Like, I'm talking early 2000s Shyamalan levels.
My life is about finding time to dream. That's why my card is American Express. Table for one?
If directors were stuck, he would have been the hottest new EV in town. And then Elysium came out and disappointed big time.
Il porte d'un pit.
Going to zero. When it comes out, zero.
Not because there's nothing good in it, there is. The production value with all the futuristic gear and weapons is amazing, and overall the world as a whole is very interesting. The problem is that the movie's story unfolding in this world just isn't enough to reach that same level. And if you think I'm incorrect in saying that, consider the fact that I'm not the one saying it, the writer-director is. What he essentially said is that even though the world was great, the story was wrong. It wasn't the right story to tell in that world. And I do kinda agree, although not to go into semantics, but what I think he means is the plot. See, story means everything. It means the world, the setting, the history, the backstory, all of it. Whereas plot means the story that the audience sees. It's the hero's journey that unfolds. It's what actually happens during the 2-hour runtime. And the plot of Elysium was wrong! It wasn't the best way to take the audience into this world. As I've said before, the easiest way to think of plot is in 3 parts: what we're doing, why we're doing it, and when it has to be done. The answers to those questions make up the plot. Like, we need to stop Thanos from getting the stones, or half the universe will be dusted, and we need to do it now because Thanos comes now. And as for Elysium, even though it has all 3 answers, those answers just didn't do it. So today, let's dig into this movie to see why that is. Not only to understand why Elysium didn't live up to expectations, but also to, in general, learn a bit about when and why your film's plot is not right.
And I'm the first person to stand up and say, this is not right, this is not cool, this is bullshit, this isn't bullshit.
The what problem with the plot, or the goal problem, is that what we're doing is too simple and halfway on the hero side and on the world side. As for the hero, the gist is that Max is a poor ex-con earthling living a meaningless, lonely life until one day he gets some spice into his life at work in form of good old radiation. After which he gets fired because he's gonna die, which isn't good for rich people business.
Does his skin fall off or something?
Hell yes.
And thus, Max has to find a way up to Elysium, rich people's home in space, where every house has a magical healing station that can heal anything, including radiation poisoning. And the issue with this is that there's no end game for it. Like, let's say Max gets up there and heals himself, then what? Well, then nothing, I guess. Then he's healed and that's it. There's no larger point in him doing that. There's nothing he sought to do that he can do once he's healed. Mostly because his life has been established to have nothing in it outside of his boring job. Except for maybe just now happening to run into his old friend to get a date.
My shift ends at 8 Wednesday. Okay? Coffee.
It's just like in Morbius. Yes, we know that Morbius has a condition he seeks to heal, but to no end. Once he fixes his problem, nothing changes from how things were with the problem. He doesn't do anything he couldn't do with his condition that he would always dream of doing. It amounts to nothing until outside forces give him something to do. Whereas in District 9, the reason we care about Vicus finding a cure is because he has a wife, he has responsibilities. It's an absolute must for him to find a cure in order for these things to have an existence. That's what he's doing by healing himself. And Elysium needed that larger point as well. It could have been that, oh, Max needs to heal himself so that he won't leave his childhood friend alone in the world like he maybe once promised to never do. Or that, oh, he actually has a sick daughter he's trying to heal so that the daughter can have a life. Something. But if it's just like, yeah, I'm dying so I better go get a cure, even though that is understandable, it's not enough. The life he's healing has to have some purpose in it. It should be more than him healing himself just for the sake of it. The healing itself is just a chore. What does he unlock and get to do by doing it?
Like how Jack Sparrow can sail the seas as a captain of the Black Pearl only by getting rid of his debt to Jones. Or like how Puss in Boots initially seeks to maintain his legacy by getting more lives.
As for the world side, like I said, the gist is that the goal takes the form of this healing station that exists in every house in Elysium. That's the thing in this world that the hero seeks, and it doesn't make any sense. In itself, the healing station is magic. It can fix any wound or condition in seconds. It's just like going to a barber in San Andreas. It can do anything. Oh, I'm missing a face, so I think I'd like
Number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, 2 number 45s, 1 with cheese, and a large soda.
And the central conflict of the world then comes from the fact that because these healing stations are so magical, the rich people have to constantly deal with annoying immigrants flying to Elysium and running into the nearest house to heal their sick children.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no.
Because the technology isn't on Earth.
This isn't Elysium. We can't just heal her.
Which just doesn't add up. If healing anything is as easy as lying down for a couple seconds and the technology is so common that it's in every house, then why isn't it shared with the people on Earth? Well, it just isn't. Once again, there's no endgame for it. Rich people are evil simply for evil's sake.
Don't breathe on me. Cover your mouth.
But when they come for your house, it won't be PR and campaign promises that keep them out. It will be me.
Well, why don't we just give Earth hospitals some of those healing stations so that at least we don't have to deal with people coming up here anymore?
In District 9, the world side of the goal is that Vikings gets infected with home-cooked alien fuel that starts to turn him into an alien. It is arbitrary, yes, but it comes organically from the world and with a point, since the reason the fuel has been cooked up is so that the aliens can use it to go home. It's sensical and compelling enough for the audience to participate in. And Elysium needed that as well. That, oh, the reason the rich don't share the technology with the poor is because every use costs like $100,000. Or that, oh, they don't share it because they want people to die to solve the overpopulation issue so they can then go back to Earth to rebuild it. Something. Overall, what we're doing can't just be something to do. It has to be organic to the world and have a larger end. That's your first question in need of an answer. Should the hero seek to heal himself, or should he seek something else, like a safe place to live with his family because he knows the secret that the Earth's air will soon turn unbreathable? Should the goal offered by the world be a magical healing station, or should it be more about the matter of not letting immigrants immigrate? There are many viable answers, but if the one you pick is not enough, you'll fumble. The why problem with the plot, or the stakes problem, is that why we're doing what we're doing lacks a consistent anchor from start to end. Like I said, the initial stakes come from the fact that Max is about to die, and so he needs to get up to Elysium to heal himself. Again, that on its own is understandable, but not too compelling because he's been shown to have nothing to live for outside of maybe one upcoming coffee date with a hot friend from his past. The real issue, however, is that the stakes keep changing the further we go. When Max stumbles into the life of his old friend, turns out that she has a sick daughter who will soon die like Max unless she gets up to Elysium. It sort of combines the stakes to be about Max's life as well as about this girl's life.
She's in the final stages of leukemia. Get her to Elysium.
I can't help her.
Which doesn't really help Max's case, because once the audience sees that there's a little girl with the same exact issue as the adult hero, they immediately care that much less about the adult hero's issue. A little girl always takes precedence. That's just how it works.
You gotta get up there, man. I gotta get up there. You're always working on it, man. You can't get... Shut the up!
So small. And the other big animals had all the food, because they could reach the fruits.
But even with the girl, it's superficial at best, because since we've spent most of our time on Max, we barely know her. She's just some sick girl who says a couple lines. Her existence takes power away from the hero's journey, but at the same time, her existence is too small to carry true power of her own. The ampersand nature of it makes it less than what it would be as either or. And that's not even it, because the stakes keep changing even more. See, when Max steals the intellectual property of a rich corporate guy by literally sucking it from his brain to get a ticket up to Elysium, turns out he got more than he bargained for. Turns out that just on that day, the corporate guy happened to program a reboot key to Elysium's system as part of a new coup, a key that controls who has access to Elysium.
You built Notorious. Can you override the servers and place a new president in power?
All of which just creates another two-sided issue. One side is that the stakes of the world are now built fully on random occurrences. Different things just happen to happen at the same time. The audience is asked to buy into more than one extraordinary thing, and that's too many. Usually we'll accept one new unnatural thing per movie and then everything it equals. You know, we'll accept the spaceships and the exosuits and the futuristic weapons because that's the future Elysium world. It's all the same. But when you say that, oh, we're in the future, and oh, the hero gets in an accident, and oh, the girl is dying of cancer, and oh, there's also a coup that starts right now. No, the stakes aren't organic anymore. You're forcing them and thus the story into being. The other side is that, again, it doesn't make sense. Turns out that the stakes are now not only about the lives of Max and the girl, but also of every person on Earth, as Max uses the reboot key to make everyone a citizen of Elysium. And even though I get the social message intended, it just doesn't gel. If everyone is a citizen of Elysium, then there is no Elysium. The same issues will prevail. If everyone is rich, then money loses value. You know, by making the stakes involve the entire world and all its people, it all gets too general and impractical to buy into.
Arrest him!
I cannot arrest a citizen of Elysium.
What?
Overall, if the why of the story is too unrealistic to logically buy into or too unspecific to emotionally invest into, it doesn't work. If the best stakes for the story are about Max's life, then develop his life enough so that we can care about it. Or if the best stakes are about a girl's life, then develop that girl as a person we can care about. Motivations can evolve but not take away from the initial source. And also, the different parts of the stakes should equal each other. It's much easier to accept a coup and an accident if they're the same, like if the coup is already ongoing and that's the reason for the rushed droid building schedule, which then leads to Max's accident. The same.
There is a political sickness that needs to be removed.
That's the deal, okay? In you go.
Most importantly, the stakes of the characters and the world should come from the characters and the world instead of from random circumstances affecting them. Oh, and if you want to know more about that one equals the other thing, watch my Edge of Tomorrow lived RP video for more context. Or even better, as I've mentioned, check out my newly released book, which condenses all the educational points about movies from all my videos from the last 5 years into one fast and easily navigable place. Whatever the area you want to learn, be it characters or plot or structure or theme or specific genres or corners of Hollywood or even high concept, you can just go to that chapter and read what I've covered. If you want to know how to make the most out of concept like Edge of Tomorrow, just look. Oh, you should make the conceptual elements equal each other so that it's one united movie. Oh, you should build scenes with the specialty offered by the concept so that the movie is special. Oh, you should dial the concept back at the end to make way for intimate emotion, which matters most at the end. You'll find the lessons from the video with summarized examples as context for them. I apologize for talking about this once again. But if you watch my content to learn about writing and making movies, this book is my magnum opus. There's like 1,000 points and lessons here, half a decade's worth. Even if you think I'm always wrong, it will still be useful because you can just do the opposite. Identifying the point itself is what matters. And I do think there is something here for everyone.
It's gonna work. We got it. Okay, it's gonna work.
So yeah, it's now on Amazon as an ebook and it's only like $10, so please check it out to learn about writing and to support the channel. I'll add physical copies later once I've checked them, and for those who can't buy from Amazon for some reason, I can sell the book directly as a PDF with the original layout myself as well. Check the description below. And thank you very much for listening. The when problem of the plot, or the urgency problem, is that the deadline for what we're doing is too shallow to function properly. Essentially, once Max has gotten that dose of radiation, a nice robot at the workplace says farewell and that, by the way, he has just 5 days to live.
In 5 days' time,
you will die.
And although that is indeed a deadline, it comes with practical issues, like the fact that it's too much time. Max gets to Elysium already by the 3rd day or so then why is the deadline 5 days? In that case, it's not really of much use in the finale, is it? Whereas ideally, you'd want to compress the events of your plot into as tight of a space as possible to light a fire under it. What did Spielberg say when he heard that Ready Player One would take place over months? He said,
"Hell nah, this movie finna take place over a couple days, man."
And he's a guy who seems to know a thing or two about movies. There's also the fact that the urgency isn't really present on screen. Max does suffer occasional bad feelings, yes, but it's not like it's constantly ramping up in an escalating manner. He pretty much feels as bad at the start as he does at the end. It's not like in District 9 where Vicus's body is visually being eaten by the infection more and more in a way that sells that underlying burning urgency as real. And so, in Elysium 2, it would have been better to show Max's health get worse and worse rather than to just have a robot say at the start that, "Yes, you will die in 5 days," and then have more people say it later. On top of all that, there's also the fact that the scenes and events of the plot aren't really affected by the urgency. Max, for example, isn't an active person actively doing things to cause things to happen. He's mostly a passive shell reacting to things happening to him. There's like 4 or 5 different occasions where he blacks out and then has other people tend to him. Scenes like that don't really sell the feeling that we're on the clock. I mean, the whole plot here is basically this. Max gets infected at work, he goes to do a job for a local gangster for a ticket to Elysium, he runs from Elysium soldiers because he accidentally stole the reboot key and gets helped by his old friend, and then he gets himself a ride to Elysium where he runs into a specific room to sacrifice himself so that everyone can be a citizen of Elysium. That's it. In terms of actions being made by the hero, there's not a whole lot of actions being made. Don't get me wrong, whenever this movie shifts into gear to move, like in the heist sequence, it actually moves. To see Max walk up to home-tuned cars in his exosuit to prep futuristic old-school weaponry and then go drop the corporate guy's ship and race over to steal what's on his mind before reinforcements arrive, it is awesome, one of the most kick-ass sci-fi heist scenes I've seen.
Let me see you.
Guys, we got incoming! Hurry up! They're coming! Something must be corrupt! No! We are running again! Let's get out of here!
The issue is that this is the first really entertaining adrenaline pump scene of the movie, and it's not until 40 minutes in. Before that, Max has kind of just hung out living his meaningless life, being at work and at the parole office and at the hospital. I understand that character build-up is important, but my point is that the movie should be in gear in those scenes too, not just in the action. You should structure your plot in a way that allows for that, instead of having the hero do nothing while some random characters are doing things to establish the necessary aspects of the world. Move all this active hero stuff earlier and then use the hero's active agency to establish all those things about the world you need to establish instead of random characters. I've said this before and I'll keep saying it. It's much easier to build an entertaining movie with a hero who does things rather than with a hero who has things done onto them. And had it been that way here, had the when been more present along with the why and the what, I do think Elysium would have had a plot or a story that wasn't the wrong one.